Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about rigging up for bait fishing on a sports boat. Um, there's a couple ways for us to do this, and I'm going to show you how to do it so that you can be most successful, or give you the best opportunity to be successful. So let's go ahead and start. This is usually what I bring on a sports boat as far as terminal tackles are concerned. You'll have hooks, torpedo sinkers, slide and egg sinkers of various sizes, um, and that's usually all you would need. And hooks, just you're gonna want to match your hooks with the type of bait you're using. So that really, the size of the bait really dictates what size hook you use. So when I'm on any given trip, especially the local island trips or along the coast type trips, your half day, your 3/4 day type, where the um, the boat will be anchored, then I'll set up an outfit for fly lining without weight, and then a torpedo sinker with a dropper loop. So those are the two basic setups that I'll have on most of my trips, and I would recommend that you do the same if you're wondering what to do or how to set up when you get on a boat. Um, Obviously, if you've been fishing for a while, you're gonna know all this. So this is geared more toward people who don't fish that often and are wondering what to do when they get on the boat. Usually, the deckhand would help you out and tie the setups for you to the type of fishing that you'll be doing. But it's good to know ahead of time what to expect. All right, so I'm gonna tie a dropper loop for this setup. And with a dropper loop, you want a little bit heavier setup. This rod or this setup is set up to fish 30-pound test. So that, and the reason is that you'll be fishing a little bit heavier weight, getting it to the bottom, and hopefully get a bigger quality fish. I won't be showing you step by step on how to tie the knots. There are a lot of knot videos out there that you could search. I'll tell you the knot I use, and then you can go ahead and search for that knot, and they'll show you how to tie. For dropper loop, there are two knots that I use. One is the regular dropper loop knot, which I typically use for rock fishing or when I'm in a hurry. I actually don't use that knot too much anymore because it's just little bit weaker. If you're fishing for bigger fish like white sea bass or yellowtail, or even big lingcod when you're rock fishing, the dropper loop knot is a little bit weak. The knot that I tie these days is the spider hitch, and it gives you a nice dropper loop as well. But then it's a heck of a lot stronger. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and tie the spider hitch. Usually, with a dropper loop type setup, you want a relatively long leader. I typically do about 12 feet. But as you can see, this leader is not very long, and it's just for this video purpose. I didn't want to tie on a brand new leader that I'm not going to be using. And a good tip for everyone out there is to change your leader after every trip. It doesn't matter if I barely used it, or even on my surface iron setup where I've used the same iron the whole trip and haven't caught a lot of fish on it. I've still changed the leader. Just a good practice to do. So let me go ahead and tie my spider hitch. I'm going to tie a really short hitch so that it's just for demonstrating. So after the spider hitch, as you can see, you get a loop here. So the knot here, like I said, is a lot stronger than the regular dropper loop knot that people would tie. So at this point, this is what's called a dropper loop. So the torpedo sinker goes down here. And I'll go ahead and tie the torpedo sinker. And just for your knowledge, the knot that I use to tie torpedo sinkers, hooks to my jigs, whatever, whatever I want to tie, is a uni knot. A lot of people use different type of knot. They might use a Palomar knot, clinch knot, all type of knots. I use a uni knot. I've used it pretty much since the first time I started fishing. So it's been something I've done forever, and it's worked out great for me. So no need to change. So the dropper loop here is where you're at with the sinker and the hook up here. Now a lot of people, especially if you ask the deckhand for help, they'll tie it this way as well, and what they'll do is, let me get a hook here, and they'll loop the hook. They'll loop the hook in like this through the eye of the hook, and they wouldn't have to tie a knot. No, I can't get this through. There you go. There you go. And this would be your typical dropper loop setup that most of the deckhand would tie for you on a boat. And it works fine, especially for bottom fish type species. I tell you, when I take a newbie out to fish for the first time, this is the setup that I want them to be doing. I don't want them to mess with fly lining or any of that, because when it's a new person and they're not used to the gears, their day could be ruined if they backlash a reel or messes it up real bad. Not to mention they'll probably be using my gears, and I wouldn't want them to backlash my reels and ruin a bunch of line. So this would be the way I would set them up for success, and I would pick trips that would cater to this style of fishing. If we're going to the kelp beds and fishing calicos and whatever else is out there, I would set this up for them to go to the bottom with a live bait. They can hook up to calicos, sheepheads, even white sea bass and yellowtail on the bottom. But so back to dropper loop. Okay, don't want to get ahead of myself. There's another way to rig this as well, and some people do it, and it's called a reverse dropper loop. And this is what a reverse dropper loop is. The loop where the hook usually goes into, you would put the weight in there without tying. Just loop it through, just like you did the hook earlier. And I like this reverse dropper loop setup for say drifting for halibut, or drifting for anything really over sandy bottoms. You don't really want to do this too much with rocky areas. The reason is that you'll get snagged. The hook leader, the hook obviously goes to this end. The hook will get snagged on any rocky structure. So again, the reverse dropper loop, you want to save it for like sandy bottom type fishing. So those are the two ways that you could fish dropper loops. Now, with the way I set up dropper loops, I don't I don't leave the loops intact like this and run a loop through it, or just looped it through the hook. I actually cut one end, and if you tie a spider hitch, I'm not sure if you can see it there, you can tell that one side is on the top and one side is on the bottom. It's reinforced on the top, so you want to cut the end on the top as close as you can to the main line without cutting it, obviously. And what I do is then tie the hook to the other end. This I find is more productive because it gives, first off, it'll give you a longer leader, and it's a cleaner look because you don't have that long loopy line that's like dangling out there with the bait. So again, uni knot, cut off the end, uni knot to the hook, and then there you go, and then uni knot to the sinker. Let's see. And I usually do 5 loops, but for this video, I'm just gonna do a couple of loops. So there you go. It's pretty much the I'll get it on my couch here. Pretty much the same as how a deckhand would do it for you, but as you can see, the hook leader is a little bit longer and it's a single strand, and I find this to be a lot more productive than leaving the whole loop in there as earlier. So that's one way to rig up. So you're bringing 2 setups. Your first setup, one of your setups should be this way. And then we'll set this aside here. Okay, your second setup, and this is where the most people would fish this way, is the fly line setup. And this requires a little bit of casting, especially when you're fishing islands and local, with a boat, or wherever the boat is anchored. If the boat is anchored, it's not drifting, it's not moving. So you would have to get the bait away from the boat, and once at least get a little bit away from the boat, say 20 feet, 30 feet or so, and get that bait moving. As soon as it hits the water, it's gonna take off. If you're fishing offshore, and you're not anchored, obviously, because it's too deep, the boat is drifting, so it's not necessary to make a long cast. Most people, a lot of people actually, who can't cast, just drop the bait over the side and start stripping line. You're with the on the right side, the captain's going to tell you which side the drift's going to be on, but it's going to be on the side with the wind in your face. Yeah. So what's that saying? The wind in your face, you're in the right place. So what's going to happen is you drop your bait down, and the wind is pushing the boat away from the bait, and as you're stripping line, your bait is it's going to start swimming away from the boat. So you don't really need to cast. So again, you can do it with straight fly line without any sinker, and again, uni knot on a hook, and it'll be that'll be probably 90% of the time that you're fishing. Now, there's some variations to this, and I'll tell you why. Sometimes when you're out fishing and the conditions are really windy, so when conditions are windy, especially in the afternoon, your bait will hang out on the surface most of the time because it's just blowing, and there are swell going up and down. So you want to get that bait down a little bit, in which case you would use a little sliding egg sinker. And it's really simple to use. Usually in a tackle box, you would want to buy a few sizes. This I think is 1/8, or actually 1/4. So I have a quarter sliding sinker here, a half-ounce sliding sinker, 1 ounce, so on and so forth. So you can put a little egg sinker ahead of the hook, and it's really easy. It goes right through, and then you can tie your hook on at that point. So what this does again is get the bait down a little bit. As a matter of fact, even when conditions are okay or ideal, it's it's not flat calm, but a little bit little bit of wind and a little bit of swell. I would still use it, and the reason is for whatever amount of fish you see on the surface boiling on the bait, there's gonna be 10 times that many down below the surface chasing bait. So you want your bait to get down to that area, and of course cut the ends here as well. So you want to get your bait down to them. So it's never a bad idea to have it set up this way. The only time that I can see that it is a disadvantage is if it's flat calm condition and the fish are just biting, fish are just picking bait on top of the water column, and since it's if it's really slack and calm, your little egg sinker could get the bait down below the fish. But like I said, usually with any school of fish, there's going to be a lot more fish and in the lower water column than on top. So you'll be fine. If you start using this and you see people who are not using weight getting bit, then switch up. It's really simple to do. Just cut the hook and take the slider out and retie the hook. So these two ways are the most common way to fish, to fish bait. So I'm gonna cut this off. If you go on any boat, on any trip, and set up with these two methods, you're definitely gonna catch fish if they're around and biting. Another way to fish, especially if the bait is live squid or frozen squid, it doesn't necessarily have to be live, is with a lead head. And this is what I have here. This is like one of those banana type lead heads. And it's great for fishing squid. And to fish this lead head, you just tie it directly to your line. It has a little weight on there. And let me see. Yeah. I can't see anymore. There we go. Again, you need not. And what you want to do with a live squid is tie or put the live squid directly on the lead head, lengthwise. So what the fish will see is just that lead head just undulating in the water column with the squid. So what you do is you would cast this out. Hopefully you'll be able to cast it out a little bit and just let it sink down to the water column. Go down through the water column, and depending on how deep you're fishing, you can reach all the way to the bottom. I think this lead head is only a 1/4 ounce. So you can let it go all the way to the bottom and start retrieving it back. And a lot of the times you're gonna get bit on the drop, but you'll also get bit on the retrieve. So those are the three very common methods to to rig up to fish bait. So you got your dropper loop that you can fish squid as well on there, or sardine. You have your fly line, straight fly line, or fly line with a little sliding sinker, and you have this with a little lead headed to fish a squid. I've seen people fish this with sardines. It's not as effective to me, and I don't usually do it. So, you know, if they're biting sardines, then I have other ways that I could fish without doing it this way. You know, this is much more effective with squid, so I would say save it for squid. You can actually fish a squid strip as well, and not a whole squid if you like. So those are the basic rigging methods for bait on any given trip. Okay, hopefully that would help you guys out there, and hopefully you guys will be able to use this to go catch a lot of fish. All right.